brings us to another topic that we included today in Mark Stewart's topics list. And you may be surprised to hear that it's another ReRAM play, 40S memory. It's had a very bumpy ride, to say the least, over the last month or so because of a delay in their development process. So share price came down from 14 cents to 4.7 cents, and the daily cap raise at 4.8. We bought a little bit of stock, so we're positioned in that stock. So just as a disclosure, by the way, we own 40S memory, Weebit Nano as well. But we've got two ReRAM stocks now on Mark Stewart's top picks list. So we thought it might make sense just to put them side by side and see what's what and who's who and what the differences are. So what's ReRAM? ReRAM is basically a new type of technology, resistive random access memory. And it sits between flash memory and DRAM. Flash memory, as you may know, is non-volatile. It sits in your mobile phone to store pictures, for instance, and videos, but also in data centers. Every time you switch off the power, the information is still retained. Unlike DRAM, which sits at the other end of the spectrum, where that needs to be refreshed every couple of milliseconds, and it's therefore very energy consuming, as opposed to flash. But that is used for working memory in a computer. Now, the speeds are very different as well. DRAM is extremely fast, and flash is relatively slow. But also that means in terms of pricing, DRAM is very expensive and flash memory is fairly cheap. Where's ReRAM positioned? Sort of, well, not in the middle, but more to the left when it comes to, more towards DRAM when it comes to speed and cost. It's more expensive than flash, but it's a lot faster than flash as well. And ReRAM is a new technology that is being developed by Weebit Nano, by 40S Memory, and TSMC, for instance, has developed its own ReRAM in-house. And we think this can partially replace DRAM and or flash at some point. And so that's what the product is. But really, if you look at Weebit Nano and 40S Memory, we have two of them now on the topics list. But the differences are quite significant in some cases. So let's have a look. The technology itself, Weebit is developed filamentary ReRAM. Basically, you've got two electrodes, and putting a voltage on it will create a filament, a connection between the two electrodes, which lowers the resistance. And ReRAM, because it's a resistive type of memory, that's how it works for Weebit. 40S Memory's got a different type of technology. It's got two electrodes as well, and putting a voltage on that will create a complete new resistance level between the two electrodes. Not just one line between the two, but the whole, basically sandwich, the whole thing will become more or less resistive. So it's a different type of technology. Weebit addresses both the embedded market and the discrete market. Embedded means a tiny amount of memory into a product, into a chip that could be used for anything, really, from microwaves to cars to dishwashers, whatever it might be. Discrete markets is where you've got gigabit chips, so for huge storage on phones in the cloud, and that's the only thing that 40S is focusing on. So only on discrete storage class memory applications. Weebit wants to commercialize the technology itself, and they've signed a deal, their first deal with Skywater recently. 40S Memory aims to sell the technology once it's developed to the point where it's ready to be sold, and we think that will be late 2022. So they're about 2 years behind Weebit Nano when it comes to that, but they're not looking to commercialize it themselves. They'll try to sell to a strategic partner. Finally, market cap of Weebit Nano right now, and it's actually a bit higher because the market is up today, but say 440 million roughly. Market cap of 40S Memory after the crash, around 63, 65 million. So there's a big gap there. So you're taking a bit more risk, or a lot more risk with 40S, because the technology hasn't been completely developed to the point where you can commercialize, but the valuation is so much lower that it's probably worth taking a punt on that one, and that's why we've got both of them on our topics list, Stuart.
And if 40S is only 2 years behind, but at least 4 or 5 times the share price behind, it's got to be a good couple of years for 40S from here.
Well, that's the point. I mean, you've got higher risk, but the returns in the near term should be higher than compared to Weebit. Although Weebit Nano longer term, it's one of our core holdings. We'll be sitting on that one for a couple of years to come. But yeah, you're right, Steve. The valuation difference is what makes 40S attractive right now.